Welcome to Bennetts BikeSocial. Welcome to the highly anticipated launch of Triumph's new Speed Triple 765. Now here at Bennetts BikeSocial we've already seen this bike before, so by the magic of YouTube hopefully there'll be a link underneath where you can find out all about the bike. But what we're doing here in Jerez is riding the RS on track here in one of the best tracks in Europe, and then we're going to ride the RS and the R on the road around the roads around here tomorrow. But as a little update, I'm just going to give you a quick overrun of what they've done in a very simplistic way. So, the engine. Basically, Triumph have learned everything they've learned from Moto 2 because they're the engine supply for Moto 2. They've seen what's happened, they've seen how to tune, they've seen how to create more horsepower, they've seen the reliability, which has been faultless, and made those modifications to the new bike. So we're up 7 PS on the RS and we're at 130 PS, which is about 130 horsepower. Chassis wise, big piston front fork, shower, Öhlins rear suspension. The wheelbase is shortened a little bit, the rake and trail is a little bit steeper, but they've simply done that by lifting the rear. You lift the rear, you make the front steeper, and obviously the seat heights come up a little bit, but that's what we're going to do with seat height and comfort we'll do tomorrow on the road. Electronics, we've got a track setting, cornering ABS, up and down quick shifter, and cornering traction control. We've got new dash, new switch gear, new looks, new styling, and we're on super coursers on the Pirellis. So that's a brief overrun of the RS, which we've had the opportunity to ride on track today. What I'm going to do is cover the R when we're on the road tomorrow. We are not in Spain, we're in the UK, and this is not the new 2023 Street Triple, this is the 22 version, because Triumph have given me the bike for a week to test before I go ride the 23 version. But I wanted to get a feel for the old bike before I go ride the new bike. Now I've had the bike for a week, and the difficult bit for Triumph is I'm struggling to find a fault with the old bike. It is one of my favourite bikes on the market. If it was my money, this is the type of bike I would buy, because it's price competitive, it's fun, it's agile, it's good on track, it's good on the road, it performs immature stunts, it does everything I want from a bike. It's good. It's going to be interesting to see how much the engineers have improved it. I think it'll have a bit more power, refinement on suspension, improved clocks, and we're there or thereabouts. But the old bike's an 8 or a 9 out of 10 bike, so the new bike's going to have to be something really special. On the new Street Triple for 2023, so we've got 130 PS now. Oh, that is doing a few sighting laps to get used to the bike, get used to the track, and we are in track mode. So let's go for a fast one, eh? Come on! This is just turning a bit wide there, but lovely turn. Second gear. Keep it tight. Crossbars on the floor, not pegs. This has got grab cranes that will embarrass some of the bikes in this class. It's got power. So we're just coming to the end of the track session. So I've done 6 sessions on the RS, and we played with the suspension settings. So we went from the to a track mode, which is the suspension is manually adjustable, so you have to get the spanners out, but it's dead easy to do, very simple, and all the settings are in the logbook. but once you change it to that track mode, there's quite a bit of difference. And this afternoon, it was just incredible. It felt like a sports bike, but with straight bars. So, after 6 sessions on the RS, I'm impressed. Very, very impressed. And what's impressing me the most is all the faults I'm finding of this bike is because I want to go faster and I want to do something more sporty. So I'll give you an example. My faults for this bike. I want a bigger dash with a rev counter, with a shift indicator. I want lower bars and I want some bodywork. So what I really want to do is convert this into a track bike because it's so close to a track bike. This is a naked bike with a pillion seat that has a rain mode that is reasonably soft, reasonably easy to ride, is £11,500, under 12 grand, that I can ride to the shops. Yeah, I've done some respectable lap times around Jerez and I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's so close to being a sports bike. Yeah, it's got a relaxed spine position and it's got wide bars. It's so close to filling that window of super sport bikes that have disappeared. The original bike in 2007 was basically a naked Daytona, so it was a naked sports bike, and this feels sportier than previous. This feels like a naked sports bike, and as I say, it's so hard to fault. The only time I'm finding faults is when I want to go faster because I want it to be a sports bike, but then I have to remember that this is a road bike, not a race bike. Really impressive. I mean, the brakes are so strong. 2 fingers on the lever from 5th gear to 2nd gear. Quick shifter works superbly. The steering is agile and light. It is not a heavy bike by any stretch of the imagination. So in terms of power, they've shortened the gearing, made it more aggressive, made it more assertive, made it a little bit sharper, and it's been so much fun. I guess on a longer track like Mugello, it might feel, you might get to the limitations of the top speed, but here in Jerez, where you're hitting the limiter in 5th on the straight, it's been fine. But usually, if a bike is good on track, it'll work on the road. But what we need to do tomorrow, by the magic of TV, is get changed, have a beer tonight, and go out on the road tomorrow on the R and the RS, and then I'll be able to give you an overall verdict. You know, a manufacturer has got a lot of confidence in a new product when they give us the option to ride on track at Jerez, which is one of the most challenging, fastest, demanding tracks that really push the handling limits of a bike. And then they give us another day to try the R model on the road. That's quite an impressive way of demonstrating what these two bikes can do. Not forgetting the fact that the 2022 model is an awesome bike. So before I came to here in Spain, I was kind of thinking, I know the 22 bike, I know it's pretty awesome. To improve it is going to be difficult. And to make a bike work around Jerez and work on the road, and for a budget, not forgetting that is just under 10,000 and this is around 11.5. That is a big, big task. But Triumph have managed to pull it off. So to start with, the RS on track yesterday was so impressive considering what this bike is. The little faults I was finding with this bike is when I was comparing it to a super bike or a race bike, because I wanted the bars a little bit lower and I wanted race bodywork and a bigger shift light and a lever a little bit closer. I was kind of making the alterations that I'd want to alter if I wanted to race it. Not a bike that I can comfortably ride to the shops and ride in jacket and jeans. I almost forgot that for a second. And when you're considering what that bike is as a road bike, it was phenomenal around Jerez. And then we jump on the R model, which is slightly less in spec, but it's got the same torque, slightly different in the RPM. It's a few horsepower down, around about 10 horsepower. But on the road, you don't really miss that, because if you're using the last 2-3% of the performance on the road, then you need the RS and you're riding very illegally. The R on the road, I actually prefer the clocks on the R than the RS. I prefer the mirrors because they're wider, they give you a better view. And the suspension copes with everything that you ever want to do on the road. The RS does feel slightly more plush, slightly more taut. It steers a little easier because of the profile of the tyres, because we've got sports touring Continentals and we've got sports tyres. We've also got a different in ride height and a slightly different aggression on the steering head angle. So it does feel lighter and steer a little easier, even though on paper they're almost identical on weight. To summarise, it's impressive in many ways what Triumph have done here, because as I say, I'm a big fan of the old bike. It is a brilliant bike, the 22 bike, but they've turned up the volume, they've gone one step further, they've improved the electronics, they've improved the dash, got massive Brembo style limits. This bike is so capable on track. It almost fits in that super sport category. A little bit of bodywork and a little modification to the stance, and that could be a sports bike. It's so good on track, and they are under £10,000, and it's doing stuff that big capacity bikes can do. It's got loads of power, it's got soul, it sounds good. Really impressive. If you're never going to go on track, the R is all you need. If you want a bit of bling and you're thinking about a few track days, then go RS. These bikes are so good, the competition should be very worried. The R is essentially a slightly lower spec version than the RS, but on the road, when you don't need all the horsepower and massive Brembo style limit brakes, it makes a lot of sense. The clocks are actually easier to read and navigate than the RS. The conventional mirrors are actually better than the bar end mirrors that are on the RS. And in many ways, if you've got no intention of going on track, just go for the standard R model at just under £10,000. But I think a lot of people, despite they probably won't end up going on track, will go for the RS. You've got a few more electronics, you've got improved suspension. The difference in the suspension and the ride height means it steers a little bit different. It's not any lighter on paper, but it feels lighter. It feels more manoeuvrable. Really impressed with both models. As I said before, I rode the standard 2022 model before I came on the launch, and I was like, and I love that bike. In fact, I've loved every street triple since the first one, which was like 2007. And Triumph have just continued and continued and continued and continued to improve a bike that I don't think needs improvement. And yet again, we're here in 2023 and they've improved a bike that was an excellent bike. Really impressed by the RS, on track. Seriously, if the bars were a little bit lower and we had some bodywork, this is a proper sports bike. But then you ride it on the road like we've done today and it's phenomenal. It's comfortable, it's easy to ride, it's smooth, it's easy around town, smooth quick shifter. And then when you want to have fun, have some fun. But if you're looking at making an end buying decision, if you're never going to go on track, go for the R. If you want a bit of sporting potential and you think you might try a track day, try the RS. 2 days, hell of a test, but not the worst job I've ever had.